Hey guys, tonight we're about to slide into something slicker than a greased casserole dish and more airtight than your neighbour's secret fudge recipe. The world of 1950s Tupperware and how it quietly transformed America's housewives from polite bakers of tuna, surprise into the most formidable sales force the suburbs had ever seen. Forget what you know about marketing. Forget everything you think you know about women's work. Tonight, we're entering the Tupperverse, a pastel jungle where the only predators are competitive hostesses and the prey is, well, your dignity, your free time, and possibly your husband's wallet. But first, before you recline on your matching mid-century sofa, maybe take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy what I do here. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what year you finally admitted you'd never use your own fondue set. And as always, it's 2 a.m. somewhere, and you're probably wondering if you'll ever actually sleep again. So dim those lights, switch on a fan for that gentle white noise, and let's get cozy. Now, let's ask some questions, the kind that keep you up at night, even after 3 servings of lime jello. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered what it was like to run an empire from your own living room, armed only with moulded plastic and a killer smile? Did women really compete for the title of Tupperware Queen, or is that just a fever dream from too much instant coffee? What happened when someone burped the bowl wrong at a party? Was there a secret society for container collectors? Could you survive an afternoon trapped in a cul-de-sac with 12 aggressive hostesses and a suspiciously large tray of deviled eggs? And what happens when your neighbour tries to poach your best customer? War, tears, or just a passive-aggressive jello mould? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1953 in an American suburb so pristine it squeaks, wearing an apron with your initials on it and a slightly manic smile. Your kitchen is gleaming, your living room is set for guests, and in the next hour, you will either become the toast of the neighbourhood or the woman nobody invites to coffee ever again. Good luck. It starts, as all great revolutions do, with a bowl you can throw at the wall and still serve salad from afterward. Welcome to the dawn of Tupperware, where the miracle isn't just the seal, it's the sound it makes, the legendary burp. Your kitchen just got its first taste of immortality, and you're not sure if you should be excited or terrified. Let's set the scene. It's 1950, and your kitchen is a pastel wonderland. Lemon yellow counters, chrome appliances that sound like small aircraft, and curtains so starched you could probably use them as emergency splints. The radio hums softly in the background. Maybe Doris Day, maybe a news bulletin about the latest atomic breakthrough. But none of that matters now, because sitting on your countertop, gleaming under the soft glow of your 3-bulb chandelier, is the future. A bowl made of polyethylene and a promise that you'll never spill leftovers again. This isn't just any bowl. No, this is a bowl designed by a man named Earl Tupper, a quiet New England tinkerer who spent most of the 1940s playing with plastic and not in the fun, let's build model airplane sort of way. More like, let's see if I can outsmart every glass jar, metal tin and wax paper wrap in America. The result? The Wonderlier bowl. It's round, it's smooth, it doesn't shatter when you drop it on your linoleum, and best of all, it comes with a lid that doesn't just sit there, it latches on, firmly, like a bear trap for coleslaw. Here's where things get strange. The lid is not like any other lid. It's not that heavy glass top that chips your sink or the wobbly aluminum cover that always seems to fit everything except what you're trying to store. No, the Tupperware lid is an act of subtle violence. You press down with the heel of your hand, just enough to worry your manicure, then you run your thumb along the rim, squeezing the air out until you hear it. The burp. A quiet, smug little pop, as if your leftovers are exhaling in relief. At first, you're skeptical. Surely it can't be this easy. Surely you can't just toss a bowl of potato salad into the fridge and not return to a scene of dairy-based tragedy. But it's true. You do. You open the fridge and nothing has escaped. No spills, no smells, not even a stray grape rolling into the butter dish. It's enough to make you feel like a wizard. Of course, your mother-in-law doesn't trust it. Plastic. She sniffs, poking at the bowl as if it might bite her. In my day, we used proper glass. If you can't break it, how do you know it's working? You try to explain that plastic is the future, that it's lighter, safer, and less likely to shatter into 1,000 pieces during the inevitable midnight snack raid. She remains unconvinced, retreating to the porch with a teacup and a look of mild suspicion. The neighbours, though, are intrigued. There's Mrs. Jensen from next door, clutching her pearls as you demonstrate the seal, her eyes widening with a mix of envy and barely concealed fear. "What if you lose the lid?" she whispers. You don't have the heart to tell her that Tupperware lids are like socks, mysteriously vanishing, occasionally reappearing in odd places, but never truly gone. Soon, the bowl becomes the silent star of every gathering. Bridge night? The Wonderlier is there, smugly containing ambrosia salad. Church picnic? Your bowl is the only one not attracting bees. And suddenly you're not just a housewife. You're a steward of the future, a gatekeeper of freshness, a participant in a grand experiment where the laboratory is your own fridge. But with every revolution comes doubt. Sometimes you stare at the unbreakable bowl, marvel at the way it resists stains and odours, and wonder if you're still in control, or is the plastic winning? And so you drift off, lulled by the soft burp of polyethylene and the distant echo of Doris Day, wondering what you've let into your kitchen and what it might want next. Sleep tight. The leftovers are safe, for now. You are the 1950s housewife, reigning over a suburban jungle of linoleum, perfectly creased curtains, and atomic age optimism. Your weapons, a spatula, a lipstick, and now a growing arsenal of stackable plastic containers. Is it power, or is it just another thing to wash? Let's take a quiet tour of your kingdom. Dawn begins with the soft rumble of the Frigidaire and the cheerful threat of a rooster-shaped timer. Your house is a wonderland of recent inventions. Pastel appliances, Formica countertops so shiny they double as mirrors, and a wall phone with a spiral cord long enough to lasso a child. You pad around in slippers, the scent of percolating coffee mingling with lemon polish, and the ever-present undertone of ambition. In this jungle, the dangerous predators are not lions, but dust bunnies, unannounced guests, and the looming PTA bake sale. You know every inch of this terrain. You've conquered grease stains with a single squirt of joy. You've repelled the invaders, telemarketers, door-to-door brush salesmen, and that one neighbourhood boy who never stopped selling chocolate bars. You have allies too. Your trusty Hoover, your best friend Ethel from 2 doors down, and the radio DJ who promises that one day you'll win a trip to Miami just for being caller number 7. Sometimes you fantasize about Miami. Sometimes you just fantasize about being able to close the bathroom door for longer than 60 seconds. But your real domain is the kitchen. Here, among the bowls and burners, you're a scientist, an artist, and, if you're honest, a bit of a magician. Can you turn 2 eggs and a half can of condensed soup into dinner for 5? Yes. Will it be edible? Unclear. Can you keep 3 different casseroles warm, help with spelling homework, and reapply lipstick before your husband comes home all at once? Of course. You're the unsung heroine of multitasking, a job with no pay, no benefits, and no hope of a quiet lunch. And now, Tupperware. These new plastic containers promise to make everything easier, neater, fresher. In a world where progress is measured in gadgets, they're the ultimate status symbol. The neighbours gossip about who has the newest party set, whose leftovers will survive the next atomic test, and who, scandalously, still uses wax paper, your collection sits in a proud pyramid on the open shelf, a monument to both thrift and the mounting fear of misplaced lids. The Tupperware isn't just plastic, it's a weapon in the battle for household control. You wield it with pride, sealing up the remains of Tuesday's casserole like you're saving them for future archaeologists. There's a satisfying snap as the lid goes on, a sense of order imposed on a world that constantly tries to tip into chaos. You smile as you stack the containers in the fridge, marvelling at their perfect fit. For a moment, you feel like the queen you always hoped you'd be, organizer, protector, keeper of cold cuts. But even queens have doubts. The kitchen can turn on you without warning. A pie crust that refuses to brown, a child who claims to be allergic to celery, or the existential despair that sets in halfway through folding the week's third load of laundry. Sometimes, you wonder if your reign means anything outside the four pastel walls. Is this real power, or just another marketing trick to keep you smiling as you scrub? Still, you soldier on, lipstick straight and apron tied tight. Because in this jungle, you're the one who makes the rules, even if no one ever says thank you. And tonight, as you drift off to sleep, you dream of a world where your crown never gets sticky and every container comes home. Rest easy, Your Majesty. The linoleum is gleaming, the leftovers are sealed, and for now, your kingdom is at peace. Who needs a corner office when you've got a tablecloth and 12 folding chairs? Tonight, your home becomes headquarters, your children become unpaid interns, and your dog is definitely not supposed to be licking the samples. Welcome to the birth of the kitchen table sales empire. Let's set the scene. It's nearly 7 p.m. The sun is dipping behind a picket fence, and your house, once the peaceful domain of after-school cartoons and spilled Kool-Aid, is now a bustling hub of enterprise. The dining table, lovingly polished and usually reserved for Thanksgiving, is covered in a crisp floral cloth and an intimidating array of brightly coloured Tupperware. Your living room, usually a haven for slippers and quiet sighs, has been transformed. Folding chairs line up with military precision. There's a pyramid of tiny sandwiches and a plate of deviled eggs so aggressively yellow it could be used as a highlighter in a pinch. Your children have been pressed into service, armed with trays of samples and the wild-eyed look of kids who know there's a bedtime loophole on party nights. They sneak snacks, fetch napkins, and occasionally act as human shields when someone tries to leave without ordering. The dog, sensing opportunity, hovers like a four-legged vacuum ready to pounce on anything that hits the linoleum. In the distance, you hear the neighbour's car doors slamming. Game on. Guests arrive, each bearing the tight-lipped, hopeful expression of women who secretly want to buy 3 bowls and avoid signing up to host next month. There's Ethel, who always brings her own pen, and Barbara, who somehow never has cash but will definitely order the most complicated set. You greet them with a dazzling smile, usher them in, and offer punch in cups that may or may not survive the evening. And then, the presentation. You stand, part hostess, part motivational speaker, part game show host. You channel every ounce of atomic age optimism as you introduce the wonders of Tupperware. You demo the airtight seal with a flourish, performing the sacred burp ritual while the crowd murmurs approvingly. You drop a bowl on purpose to show its durability. You bounce a lid. You stack. You unstack. You narrate the process as if discovering fire. The bowls are not just bowls, they are freedom. They are innovation. They are the future. And incidentally, they can hold up to 4 cups of potato salad without leaking. Someone always gasps. Someone else always says, "Well, my Pyrex never does that. This is your cue." You lean in, voice soothing, and explain how Tupperware is lighter, safer, and above all socially contagious. The catalogue makes its rounds, passed from hand to hand like a sacred text. Order forms are filled with careful, slightly guilty calculations. Barbara asks if she can just get the lids. Someone else asks if the celery keeper really keeps celery. You answer, Yes, it keeps celery, and also your secrets. In this moment, you realize your kitchen table is no longer just furniture. It's a boardroom, a stage, a tiny capital of capitalism, right between the hallway and the sock basket. Your guests laugh, they gossip, they trade tips on storing lettuce and husbands. Underneath it all, a strange sense of camaraderie grows. Women supporting women, sharing strategies, sometimes even actual Tupperware. Power radiates from the unlikeliest places. A set of stacking cups, a stack of pink order forms, the pride of running something, anything, outside the view of the men watching TV in the den. As the night winds down, your guests trickle out, clutching catalogues and Tupperware dreams. The children are asleep under the table, the dog finally scores a stray sandwich, and you, CEO of the kitchen table, begin the careful clean-up. You count your commission, gather your unsold inventory, and smile, knowing you've built something from scratch, right here, in a house that still smells faintly of egg salad and victory. Congratulations. Your kitchen is closed, but your empire, just getting started. You're not just selling plastic, you're hosting a Tupperware party, the ultimate fusion of capitalism and cake. Guests will come for the sandwiches but leave with catalogues, order forms, and a strange sense of competitive urgency. Suddenly, hostess means CEO with snacks. The transformation begins with a simple invitation. You slip pastel cards into mailboxes or whisper conspiratorially at the grocery store. Come for cake, stay for something that will change your leftovers forever. It's half social event, half secret mission. The stakes, more than just plastic bowls. This is the birth of a new kind of work, a career invented in real time by women in aprons, living rooms, and patent leather heels. Preparations start days in advance. The living room is staged like a set for a sitcom about ambitious housewives, doilies fluffed, slip covers pulled tight, the faint but ever-present smell of lemon pledge hovering in the air. Your best-serving tray is loaded with sandwiches, each one cut into geometric shapes so precise they could pass for engineering samples. Punch is chilling in a bowl that you hope someone will buy before it ends up in the garage. You've arranged the Tupperware display in the most flattering light possible, praying the afternoon sun doesn't highlight the chip in the formica. There are giveaways. There are icebreakers. There is a clear understanding that whoever sells the most by the end of the month will receive a brooch, a title, or, if the rumours are true, a brand new station wagon in a colour only seen in dreams and department store ads. Your first guest arrives. Ethel, punctual and slightly judgmental, eyes the display with a mix of envy and suspicion. She's followed by Barbara, who brings the kind of gossip that can only be whispered while stacking cups. One by one they arrive, and suddenly the party begins. The air is thick with nervous laughter, the polite shuffling of order forms, and the unmistakable scent of ambition. You, meanwhile, are both the entertainment and the ringmaster. With the confidence of a game show host, you unveil the features of the Wonderlier Bowl. You perform the legendary burp, sending a ripple of awe through the crowd. You drop the bowl, on purpose, of course, and it bounces, undamaged, earning you an approving gasp from Ethel and a jealous side-eye from Barbara. You tell stories of celery kept crisp for days, cakes that never dry out, and leftovers that somehow taste better just because they're stored in Tupperware. By the time the cake is served, the guests are hooked, not just on the products, but on the possibility of becoming hostesses themselves. The Tupperware party isn't just about selling plastic, it's about selling possibility. But the genius of the party plan is that it never feels like work. There's no office, no boss breathing down your neck. There are no time clocks or cold calls, just a warm living room and a chance to turn every friend, neighbour or relative into a customer, a colleague, or sometimes a competitor. Every party is a training session, a motivational seminar, and a recruitment drive rolled into one. You learn the art of the upsell, the subtle science of guest lists, and the importance of keeping your best punch recipe secret. You watch as women, quiet, clever, sometimes overlooked, discover a talent for persuasion, for organisation, for running a business in a world that doesn't quite want to admit women can run anything at all. The party ends, the catalogues disappear into purses, the last bite of cake is claimed by a child or a wandering husband. Your guests step back into the evening with order forms in hand and big ideas in their heads. Maybe next week it'll be their turn to host. Maybe this is how it all starts. You lock the door, collect your commission, and wipe down the table, realizing you've done something extraordinary. You've invented a new career, one sandwich at a time. The world may never see you as a CEO, but here, in the warm glow of a freshly cleaned living room, you know exactly what you are. And it feels good. If you can't burp the bowl, you can't join the club. The ritual of sealing, pressing and popping a lid turns the kitchen into a strange Tupperware-based performance art. Nobody leaves until the air is out. The snacks are gone, and your neighbours have heard that iconic sound at least 17 times. Let's be clear, Tupperware wasn't just plastic. It was theatre. The burp was not a side effect, not an accident, but the very heartbeat of every Tupperware party. In the soft glow of the dining room light, women would gather, clutching their punch glasses and murmuring about the weather, when suddenly, a hush. It was time for the demonstration. You, the hostess, would hold the bowl high, as if about to reveal the Holy Grail. The guests would lean in, eyes wide, knuckles whitening around their order forms, and then you'd press the lid, smoothing your thumb along the edge, gently squeezing the air out until at last it happened. Pop. Not too loud, not too soft. Just the right note of smug satisfaction. It was a moment of triumph, and in 1950s suburbia, that meant everything. But don't be fooled. The burp was an art, not a science. Some tried to rush it, slapping the lid, hoping for an immediate result. Others hesitated, afraid they might damage the magic, or worse, break the Tupperware code of silence by letting air escape in a faint, embarrassing squeak. The experienced hostesses knew better. They'd perfected their technique, hands practiced from years of cooking, cleaning, and holding the family together by sheer force of will. They could burp a bowl blindfolded, in the dark, upside down, with one hand on a casserole and the other fishing a child out from under the table. To them this was more than just a kitchen trick. This was a rite of passage. And the audience? Captivated. Some cheered. Some gasped. One or two skeptics would smirk. Is that really necessary? But the power of the burp was undeniable. It was proof, right there in your hands, that modern science had finally come to the kitchen. It was a sound that meant freshness, safety, and a victory over the slow creeping entropy of leftovers. In a world where milk could sour by breakfast and jello could melt in a sunbeam, a properly burped bowl was a promise. This will still be edible tomorrow. There were always a few partygoers who struggled. The learning curve was real. Some pressed too hard and launched a lid across the room like a flying saucer, narrowly missing the dog. Others couldn't get any sound at all and had to suffer the gentle, supportive coaching of the seasoned pros. No, dear, you have to press and slide, not just push. Try again, let's all watch. And so, under the patient, slightly judgmental gaze of the neighbourhood, everyone learned. Practice made perfect. And once you'd mastered the move, once you'd summoned that elusive burp for yourself, you were no longer just a guest. You were inducted forever into the secret sisterhood of sealed freshness. It didn't stop at the party. The burp became a badge of honour, something to show off to visiting relatives or deploy at PTA meetings when talk turned, as it inevitably did, to leftovers. You found yourself demonstrating the technique to your children, to your husband. No, really, it's not just for show. And even, in moments of boredom, to yourself. Sometimes, when the house was quiet, You'd burp a bowl just for the satisfaction of it, a tiny rebellion, a private victory against the chaos of daily life. So if you ever wondered why your mother kept all those bowls, why your neighbour threw so many parties, or why the Tupperware catalogue was tucked between cookbooks and bills, here's your answer. It was never just about the plastic. It was about the ritual, the performance, the gentle shared absurdity of sealing up your dreams and then popping them just to hear that perfect sound. Sleep easy, friend. The kitchen is quiet now. The bowls are sealed, the air is out, and somewhere in the night, the faint echo of a burp lingers, promising that everything will still be fresh in the morning. There's a new sheriff in town and she bakes. For the first time, the vacuum cleaner salesman meets his match. In a world where men sell at the front door, women build networks at the kitchen table and they do it in heels. Picture it. Suburbia, mid-century. The grass is aggressively green. Every house looks like it was designed by a committee of people who'd never met, but all agreed that white picket fence meant progress. By day, the neighbourhood is the domain of salesmen, always men, trudging up driveways, briefcases in hand, hoping to convince you that what your home truly needs is another appliance that weighs as much as your 7-year-old. The doorbell rings. It's the encyclopedia guy, the brush peddler, the intrepid young man with a car full of aluminum cookware. They're polite, persistent, and, let's be honest, a little desperate. But inside, a quiet revolution is brewing. You are the Tupperware lady. You don't knock on doors, you invite. You don't sell with a pitch, you sell with pie. While the men pace porches and practice their spiels, you create a world behind closed curtains, where the only thing sharper than the cheese spreaders are the wits around the table. Let's talk tactics. The door-to-door man is a lone wolf armed with sample cases and a kind of haunted optimism. He goes from house to house, chased by dogs and the occasional hose. His sales pitch is rapid fire, get in, get the demo, get the sale, get out. He works for commission, haunted by quotas, fueled by cold coffee, and the hope that this next door is the one. He relies on first impressions and the art of not overstaying his welcome. He dreads the sound of a baby crying or a husband coming home early. The Tupperware lady, meanwhile, wields a different power. She doesn't just sell a product, she sells an experience. The party is a force multiplier, a cross between a social club and a secret society. You assemble a loyal band of neighbours, friends and acquaintances, plying them with sandwiches and stories. The table is your arena. You offer a demonstration, sure, but it's wrapped in laughter and gossip. You're not just asking for a sale, you're offering inclusion. With every burp of a bowl, you're sealing the deal, not just for plastic, but for trust and camaraderie. He may have polished shoes and a company car. You have community. He counts his sales by the house. You count yours by the block. When he leaves, he's forgotten. Just another face at the threshold. When you finish a party, you've created a ripple. One guest becomes a hostess who recruits 3 more, and soon the entire PTA is storing celery in airtight containers. You're not just selling, you're building an empire, one jellied salad at a time. The difference is even in the details. He never removes his hat indoors. You take off your shoes and settle in for a long chat about why margarine never quite tastes right. He hands out flyers that get recycled as shopping lists. You leave catalogues that live in kitchen drawers for years, quietly haunting grocery budgets. He might make a sale, but you make a community. Occasionally worlds collide. The door-to-door man, on his appointed rounds, stumbles into a home mid-party. He's greeted not by a lonely housewife, but by a roomful of women, sharp-eyed and well-fed, united against the pitch. He tries his best. He offers discounts. He polishes his samples, but it's no use. He's up against the Tupperware lady, a force of nature with a cake server, a loyal audience, and the uncanny ability to remember everyone's birthday. By the end of the night he's gone, but your guests are still there, lingering over punch, trading stories, planning their own parties. You pack up your inventory, count your commission, and bask in the quiet victory. The vacuum cleaner may be powerful, but it can't compete with the vacuum seal. The future belongs to the kitchen table, and the woman who rules it, heels and all. Rest well. You've outlasted the salesman, outperformed the odds, and proved once again, never underestimate the power of a party and a woman with a plan. Friendship ends where sales quotas begin. Tupperware parties aren't just social gatherings, they're battlegrounds. Hostess gifts become bribes, dessert is weaponized, and that smile your neighbour gives you, it's loaded. Out here in the cul-de-sac, beneath the shade of identical maple trees and the watchful gaze of garden gnomes, the arms race isn't measured in missiles but in matching salad sets. Alliances are temporary, truces are brittle, and every invitation carries the faint whiff of both hospitality and ambition. The stakes, exclusive colours, bonus lids, and most of all the coveted title of top hostess. It starts innocently enough. You agree to host a party. Ethel agrees to host one too. Then you both realise the parties are on the same weekend. Suddenly it's not about convenience, it's about dominance. You watch Ethel through the curtains as she hauls in extra chairs and what appears to be her mother-in-law's best punch bowl. She's not playing around. You up the ante. Out come the silver-plated tongs and the good napkins, the ones you only use when relatives threaten to stay overnight. You bake your famous lemon bars, dusting them with extra powdered sugar and, if you're honest, just a sprinkle of strategic intent. Meanwhile, Ethel has somehow sourced imported chocolates and started spreading rumours about special deals for her guests. The guests, the real prizes in this suburban theatre of war, begin to circle, dropping hints about who's offering what, who's making what, and which party is rumoured to have the better door prize. The day of your party arrives. You greet each guest with the same friendly smile, but behind it, you're tallying potential orders like a general reviewing troop movements. You compliment Ethel's shoes, and she compliments your curtains. Both of you know these are shots fired. Barbara, ever the double agent, flits between camps, collecting samples and trade secrets, hinting she may, just may, book her own party if the perks are good enough. The demonstration becomes performance art. You seal the Wonderlier bowl with a burp so theatrical that two guests gasp and one actually applauds. Ethel counters with her own demonstration the next night. She balances 3 sealed containers on her head while reciting the benefits of modular storage. Word spreads. Stories grow. By the following week, the entire neighbourhood is abuzz with tales of Tupperware exploits and party victories. And then there's the hostess gift, the not-so-subtle bribe that turns the whole operation into a moral grey zone. Crystal candy dish? That's nice. Monogram tea towel? Interesting. The coveted celery keeper? Well, that's basically an open declaration of war. You weigh the value of your gifts like a 1950s Machiavelli. Do you go big, risking your monthly commission for short-term glory? Or do you go subtle, homemade jam, artfully wrapped, hoping sincerity will outmaneuver spectacle? Dessert too is a weapon. You overhear a guest whisper that Ethel's angel food cake was a little dry. You tuck that away for later, possibly to be deployed in your next round of battle, perhaps at the church picnic. Every compliment is suspicious. Every, "Oh, I really shouldn't," before a second helping is a tiny victory. But beneath all the manoeuvring, a strange camaraderie grows. You and Ethel meet eyes over the punch bowl and for just a second share a look of mutual respect and mutual exhaustion. You both know what it takes to host, to smile, to keep the inventory straight, to calculate who owes what. For all the rivalry, you're partners in a strange suburban ballet. Part competition, part collaboration, all choreography. By the end of the week, the scores are in. You've won some, lost some. Maybe you sold more bowls, maybe Ethel booked more parties. The arms race is over until next month when someone inevitably gets a new hostess exclusive. You tidy up, wash the last plate, and as you drift off to sleep you realise the true prize isn't the top sales or even the fancy celery keeper. It's surviving the battlefield with your sense of humour, and maybe, just maybe, your friendship intact. The Tupperware catalogue is more sacred than the family Bible, and much more dangerous. Open it at your peril. Inside lurk cake takers, celery keepers, and the terrifying promise of total kitchen control. It starts innocently enough. You're sitting at the kitchen table sipping instant coffee when a glossy booklet lands in front of you with a satisfying thud. You reach for it, fingertips tingling, heart fluttering with the thrill of potential. This isn't just a product list, it's a roadmap to domestic transcendence. The cover beckons with smiling faces and pastel containers stacked in improbable towers. You feel an urge to genuflect. Opening the catalogue is an act of hope and reckless abandon. The first page sparkles, party sets and colours so vibrant they could wake the deadest leftovers. You pause, already feeling a rush of ambition. Imagine, you think, if my kitchen could look like this. Tidy, coordinated, a pastel utopia where celery never goes limp and leftovers never die mysterious, smelly deaths at the back of the fridge. The catalogue knows what you want before you do, offering solutions to problems you hadn't realised you had. Suddenly your life feels incomplete without a pickle keeper or a lettuce crispet. Why are your onions not yet ensconced in their own dedicated orb of freshness? What kind of a life have you been living? The temptation grows with each turn of the page. Here is the Wonderlier set, promising to bring order to chaos, stackability to clutter. You gaze at the images, containers lined up in neat rows, colour-coordinated, obedient, eternal. If only the rest of your life could be sealed so securely. There's the cake taker, a domed marvel engineered to preserve baked goods and egos alike. You don't even bake cakes, but you feel, deep in your soul, that you could, if only you owned this magnificent piece of plastic. Each item comes with its own story. The celery keeper, once just a punchline, now appears as a vital necessity, a sign that you take your produce and your power seriously. The Jell-O mould winks at you. Even the measuring cups, designed with ergonomic precision, seem to whisper, "You're not just a housewife. You're an architect of leftovers, a conqueror of chaos, a maestro of modularity." But the catalogue's power is not in its pictures alone. It's the copywriting, a subtle blend of flattery and FOMO. Imagine your kitchen, effortlessly organised. Bring elegance to every meal, because you deserve the best. The words are so gentle, so affirming, you almost miss the fine print, while supplies last. Suddenly you're gripped by the fear that if you don't act now, you'll be doomed to a life of mismatched containers and perpetual lid loss. It's a slippery slope. You promise yourself you'll just circle a few items for next time, but soon every other page is marked, folded, annotated with stars, exclamation points, and elaborate budgeting schemes that conveniently ignore next month's grocery bill. You start bargaining with yourself. If you skip dessert this week, you can afford the complete pantry set. If you host one more party, that cake taker is practically free. You tell your husband it's an investment in our future, as if one more Jell-O mould is the missing puzzle piece to marital bliss. Soon, the catalogue isn't just a catalogue. It's a status symbol. It lives on the counter just within reach, so you can show it to visitors, study it in quiet moments, and compare notes with fellow hostesses. You know you've crossed a line when your children start using product names in everyday conversation, and your dreams are haunted by visions of stackable, burpable utopia. And so the catalogue works its magic, whispering promises of control, order, even happiness. You close it at last, dazed, a little giddy, a little guilty, and entirely under its spell. Somewhere, deep inside, you know the truth. Total kitchen control may be an illusion, but hope comes in pastel colours and is thankfully dishwasher safe. Rest now. The catalogue is closed for tonight. The chaos of life is sealed away, at least until the next party. If you sell enough, you can earn a car. Not just any car, a gleaming pastel chariot of suburban ambition. Suddenly, women who couldn't get their own credit card are being handed the keys to the American dream, one airtight bowl at a time. Let's take a moment to appreciate the audacity of it all. In a world where most women can't open a checking account without their husband's permission, Tupperware dangles before you the possibility of something bigger than a catalogue commission or an exclusive celery keeper. There, in the glossy folds of a company newsletter, is the impossible promise. Sell enough, recruit enough, and one day you might just be rolling down Main Street in a brand new bubblegum pink Ford. Not borrowed, not shared, yours, with a giant plastic bow on the hood and your name on the certificate. You've never known power like this? Sure, it starts with a bowl, a smile, and the secret knowledge that you can burp a Wonderlier in your sleep. But soon the parties are stacking up faster than your fridge containers. You find yourself memorizing sales figures, poring over hostess recruitment charts, making phone calls with the steely optimism of a Wall Street broker. It's not just about plastic, it's about progress. You catch yourself imagining the wind in your hair as you drive to the next neighborhood, trunk full of pastel inventory, radio blaring a victory song of your own choosing. For the first time, the idea of success isn't measured in how well you can starch a collar or bake a pie. It's how many parties you can book, how many recruits you can train, how many units you can sell before the end of month cutoff. The Tupperware car gleams on the horizon, a pastel siren song. The men, of course, are baffled. A car? For selling plastic bowls, they mutter over the newspaper, half convinced it's a scam, half worried you'll out-earn them before the year is out. The bank teller blinks in disbelief as you, a housewife in kitten heels, pull up in a vehicle that cost more than his annual salary. And you, who used to wait for someone else to drive, now possess the most coveted symbol of freedom the suburbs have ever known. Let's not downplay the spectacle of the award. Tupperware makes a show of it. Public, lavish, and gloriously over the top. There are rallies, spotlights, the entire sales force clapping as the top sellers are led on stage like queens at a debutante ball. A master of ceremonies beams as he hands over the keys, cameras flashing, and somewhere in the back row a husband realizes he may never live this down. You drive home from the award ceremony in a state of disbelief, fingers tight on the steering wheel, engine purring beneath the hood like a satisfied house cat. But the car is more than transportation. It's a passport, a ticket, a badge of hard-fought independence. With every mile you drive, you leave behind an era where ambition had to be disguised as a hobby, where travel required a chaperone, where dreams came with a curfew. The Tupperware car sits in your driveway, a pastel trophy, and a daily reminder that the rules have changed, at least a little. The neighbours peer through their curtains, some with envy, others with awe. The children boast at school, "My mum earned a car selling Tupperware." The message is clear. In this world there is no such thing as just a housewife. Of course the road is long, and not everyone gets a car. For some, the dream is enough, a promise that maybe, just maybe, something better is parked just over the next hill. But tonight, as you gaze out at the moonlight glinting off a fresh coat of pastel paint, know that every bowl, every party, every burp brought you a little closer to the driver's seat. Rest easy. You hold the keys to more than a car. You hold the keys to possibility. You're balancing parties, sales sheets, and 4 loads of laundry. You're coaching your friends through their first burp and still expected to have meatloaf ready before your husband gets home. Modern multitasking is for amateurs. In the bright, humming hours after breakfast, you slip effortlessly between roles. The phone rings. Is it Ethel, asking about that celery keeper again? Or is it Barbara trying to reschedule her party for the third time this month? You juggle names, addresses, and the tightrope of neighbourly politics, while stirring a pot of soup and reminding a child that socks are not optional, even in summer. Out come the catalogues, each one a portal to both opportunity and potential marital discord. There's a sharp crackle as you open your order pad and add up commissions, your mind racing with numbers even as your hands knead dough for tomorrow's bake sale. Being a Tupperware lady is not just a career, it's a second secret identity. By daylight, you're a business leader, an entrepreneur in lipstick and a patterned apron, expertly coaching a room full of women through the finer points of modular storage. You field objections with a smile. No, Barbara, the Wonderlier will not solve your husband's snoring, but it will keep your macaroni salad fresher than anything else on the market. You orchestrate games and raffles, all the while keeping a mental tally of who needs follow-up calls and who might be ripe for recruitment. The guests laugh, they eat, they buy. Every order form filled is another small triumph. But even the sales queen has a curfew. As the sun tilts low and the afternoon drifts toward dinner, your world narrows back to the domestic front. There's a kitchen to reclaim from the chaos of party prep, a mountain of dishes that can't all fit in even the most ambitious Tupperware bowl, and a small child announcing that he needs to bring 20 cupcakes to school by tomorrow morning. You tie your apron tighter and pivot from sales to supper, mentally composing follow-up notes while browning ground beef and brokering a peace deal over homework. There's no applause for this transformation, no ticker-tape parade for the queen who conquers the living room and the laundry room before 6. The men in the house, if they notice, simply marvel at the never-ending appearance of clean socks and home-cooked meals, blissfully unaware that half the pantry's contents are the spoils of your latest party. You become an expert at time management, improvising dinner with one hand and tallying your commission with the other. Sometimes, when the stars align and the oven timer dings at the perfect moment, you catch your reflection in the kitchen window and almost believe you could run for president, if only you could delegate the mopping. The world calls it women's work. But you know it's a symphony, a high-wire act, a demonstration of skill that rivals any CEO's schedule. Their strategy, negotiation, the delicate art of not mixing up customer orders with the grocery list. There are nights when you fall into bed with visions of burping bowls and meatloaf, uncertain if you've done enough, only to rise again at dawn and do it all over, never quite knowing whether you're admired, envied, or simply expected. But in those rare quiet moments, after the dishes are done, after the last child has drifted off, after the living room is quiet, you know what you've accomplished. You are the boss. You are the glue. You are, as ever, both the hero and the help. So rest easy tonight, sales queen. Tomorrow the world awaits, and the meatloaf, as always, won't make itself. For every woman dreaming of a Cadillac, there's a husband muttering about plastic nonsense and the sanctity of the garage. Tupperware might be indestructible, but male pride is not. Let's take a stroll into the post-war American living room, where the TV hums in the corner, the newspaper rustles, and a husband, sensing a threat to his carefully curated sense of household order, peers warily over the rim of his coffee mug. Another party? For what? More plastic? He asks, his voice pitched somewhere between confusion and alarm. His toolbox, his shed, his entire belief system rests on the durability of metal and the quiet authority of wooden shelves. Plastic is fine for toys and the occasional lawn chair. But for food? For storage? For building an empire that, let's be honest, he never saw coming? That's a harder pill, or bowl to swallow. It starts small. A single Wonderlier bowl, quietly joining the ranks of Pyrex and mismatched glassware. He pretends not to notice at first, but the signs are everywhere. Pastel containers stacked in the pantry, mysterious catalogues appearing where the sports section should be, and worst of all, the creeping invasion of the sacred garage, where Tupperware begins to appear alongside oil cans and fishing gear. You can practically hear the existential crisis building. "They're taking over, Helen," he tells his friend at work. "One of these days I'll open the fridge and the steak will be in a pink box." The jokes come easy at first. Does it come with a motor? Can you fix a car with it? He laughs when you demonstrate the burp, but there's something a little nervous in his eyes. What if this isn't just a fad? What if, heaven forbid, your little hobby becomes successful? What if you sell enough to win that pastel station wagon and suddenly the neighbours are congratulating you at the block party while he nurses a soda and his wounded pride? For the skeptics, it isn't just about the plastic, it's about the shift in the power structure. The garage, once a fortress of masculine solitude, is under threat from a new and indestructible foe, the Tupperware container. Shelves that once held tools now groan under the weight of unsold inventory. The lawnmower gets parked behind a crate of celery keepers. It's an invasion, and there's no stopping it. Not unless he wants to say no to you, and he's smart enough to know better. Still, resistance lingers. "How many bowls does one family need?" he grumbles, ignoring the evidence. The leftovers that stay fresh, the money that mysteriously appears in the bank account, the way you smile just a little wider on party days. There are mutterings about real jobs and proper work, all the while missing the point. This is work, and it's paying off in ways he never expected. But over time, even the most stubborn skeptics have to admit the truth. The food lasts longer. The parties keep you energized. The extra cash means the lawnmower finally gets its new spark plug, and maybe a new fishing rod, if he plays his cards right. Sometimes, late at night, you'll catch him rooting through the fridge, looking for leftovers. He'll snap a lid on with surprising expertise, the burp echoing through the kitchen. He'll pretend he's just helping out, but you know, he's come around. So yes, Tupperware might bruise a little male ego on its way to kitchen domination. But in the end, even the proudest skeptic learns to appreciate the airtight promise of leftovers that never leak. A wife who's quietly building an empire, and a garage that, whether he likes it or not, has room for everyone's dreams. Sleep easy. The plastic is stacked, the garage is full, and the future is sealed, burp and all. How did we go from glass jars and wax paper to space-age polyethylene? It's the story of American innovation, weird science, and a man named Earl Tupper who really, really loves sandwiches. Let's wind back to a time when the average kitchen was a breakable minefield of glass jars, wax paper, and enough metal tins to start a small band. Your grandmother probably remembers the era when storing leftovers was a feat of engineering. Balancing chipped Pyrex bowls on a shelf, wrestling with sticky wax paper that refused to seal, or jamming yet another dented tin onto an already crowded fridge rack. The inevitable happened. Spills, leaks, and the constant quiet terror of discovering that the meatloaf you stored last night has gone rogue and oozed into tomorrow's jello. People lived in fear of leftovers, and mayonnaise was a recurring villain. Then along came World War II, and, with it, a wave of plastic innovation that changed everything from telephones to toothbrushes. Somewhere in the post-war haze of optimism, a man named Earl Tupper was quietly revolutionizing lunch. Earl wasn't your typical inventor. He didn't have a wild mustache or a secret lair, just a love for sandwiches that bordered on obsession and a determination to solve the age-old problem of soggy bread. Earl worked in plastics when plastics were still suspicious and a little mysterious, something you'd expect to find in a science fiction movie, not the family pantry. He spent countless hours fiddling with polyethylene, a slippery, waxy byproduct of oil refining that everyone else considered basically useless. But Earl saw potential. He saw a future where food could be as safe and secure as a submarine hatch, and just as indestructible. He experimented until he found the secret: make the plastic flexible enough to seal tight, but tough enough to survive being flung across a kitchen by a harried housewife. Thus, the Wonderlayer bowl was born, a round, sturdy, and above all, burpable container that could keep even the most suspicious tuna salad at bay. But the real genius was in the lid. Inspired by paint cans and submarine doors, Earl engineered a seal so tight it practically defied the laws of physics, and more importantly the laws of leaky leftovers. The legendary burp became both a feature and a badge of honor. If you could get your bowl to burp, you knew your food would survive a nuclear winter, or at least until next Tuesday. At first, the world was skeptical. Housewives eyed the plastic with the same suspicion they reserved for instant coffee and frozen peas. But Earl didn't give up. He knew science needed a little help from marketing, and maybe a lot of help from women who knew a thing or two about the chaos of kitchens. Enter Brownie Wise, the marketing maverick who turned Tupperware into a household name and a suburban sensation, selling not just containers, but a vision of modernity, efficiency, and a slightly less terrifying fridge. It wasn't just about leftovers. Tupperware was about freedom, a way to break out of the tyranny of broken glass and crusty wax paper, to take control of your kitchen, and, let's be honest, impress the neighbours at bridge night. It was about the joy of order, the pride of innovation, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that your mayonnaise would stay right where you left it, come hell or high water. So the next time you snap a lid, take a moment to thank Earl Tupper and his peculiar passion for sandwiches. The plastic revolution wasn't just science, it was salvation, sealed tight and topped with a pastel lid. Now drift off, comforted by the knowledge that your leftovers are safe, your mayonnaise is contained, and somewhere Earl Tupper is smiling quietly at a world made just a little bit better by plastic. You learn to speak fluent Tupperese, modular mates, party points, hostess exclusive. You can tell a real Tupperware lady by her code words, her catalogue, and her ability to spot a prospect at 50 paces. It starts with the smallest phrases, slipped into conversation like a secret handshake. At first you barely notice. You're at the school bake sale, chatting with the woman beside you as you both survey a tragic pan of brownies. She leans in, whispers, "You know, you can keep those fresher in a seasoned serve." You nod politely, pretending to understand, but inside you're lost. What's a seasoned serve? Is this a condiment or a cult? The answer, delightfully, is both. Within weeks, the language finds you. Suddenly you know your modular mates from your Servilier sets. You start referring to colours by their official names: Harvest Gold, Avocado, Frosted Blue, as if you've joined a secret society of suburban alchemists. At parties, the code words flow smoother than the punch. "Did you hear they're bringing back the carousel caddy?" Ethel asks, eyes wide with excitement. You haven't, but you nod enthusiastically, unwilling to out yourself as a novice. The last thing you want is to look like someone still storing leftovers in glass. Soon, it's not just products, it's the system. You collect party points with the dedication of a Vegas high roller. You know exactly how many points get you a free Minimax or a bonus measuring cup. The phrase hostess exclusive takes on mystical importance. At any given moment, you can quote the number of orders needed to unlock the latest limited edition cake taker, and you're not above using this arcane knowledge to lure your friends into hosting parties of their own. You spot other Tupperware insiders easily now. There's a special glint in their eyes when someone mentions stackability. They speak of burping with reverence. They know the proper response to "will it stain?" Only if you put spaghetti in it, dear, and even then, a little sunshine fixes everything. They can tell at a glance whether a salad will fit in a number 3 Wonderlayer or if it needs a number 5. You overhear conversations that, to outsiders, sound like abstract math. I paired 2 medium ovals with a super oval, and it fits perfectly in the bread bin. It's less a product line, more a code. The catalogue becomes your Rosetta Stone. Dog-eared and annotated, it rides along in your purse, ready to be whipped out at a moment's notice. You learn the art of subtle catalogue placement on the PTA table next to the phone tucked inside the church bulletin. It's not pushy, it's strategic. If someone so much as glances at the index, you're ready. Oh, you like the picnic set? Let me tell you about the party bonus this month. With time, the secret language expands to include body language. A true Tupperware hostess can spot a prospect by the way she lingers over the catalogue, the way her eyes widen at the phrase free hostess gift, or the way she burps a bowl perfectly on the first try. You become an anthropologist, an interpreter, and sometimes a recruiter. Even your dreams get involved. You find yourself muttering modular storage as you drift off. Visions of matching lids dancing in your head. Sometimes, late at night, you wonder if you'll ever be able to speak regular English again. Your husband asks where the salt is, and you tell him, second shelf, next to the servalier. The kids think hostess credit is just another form of allowance. Even the family dog has learned to recognise the sound of the catalogue hitting the table. He knows there will be snacks. So rest easy tonight, knowing you're fluent in a language only a select few will ever understand. You're part of the sisterhood of stackability. The code is yours, the catalogue is open, and the only thing left to say is, who's ready to host next month? Every group has one. The woman who never buys, always attends, and leaves with half the display set. You may never see your Jell-O mould again, but you'll always remember the hunt. You know her by the look in her eye, half innocent, half plotting, like a raccoon sizing up an unattended picnic basket. She shows up early, sometimes just to help, but more often to get first pick at the snacks. Her purse is oversized, her smile even bigger, and she's perfected the art of the breezy compliment. "Oh, I just love how you do your hair," she says, just as she gently slides a celery keeper a little closer to the edge of the table. She is, by all appearances, an upstanding member of the community. Her garden is the envy of the block. She brings homemade bars to every bake sale. Yet, invite her to a Tupperware party, and without fail she transforms into a container connoisseur, a maestro of distraction and misdirection. While the rest of your guests are marvelling at the burpable wonderlier, she's already mapped out her route. Cake taker, Jell-O mould, deviled egg carrier, and, if she's feeling bold, the host-exclusive measuring cup. At first, you think you're imagining things. Who would really walk off with a citrus juicer, or tuck a lettuce crisper into their knitting bag? But the signs are all there. The empty spot where your most popular bowl used to be, the awkward laugh as she assures you she just set it down somewhere, the faint clatter from her purse as she stands up to leave. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. Surely no one could be so brazen. But as the months go by, the pattern emerges. Always after a party, always something missing, always that same neighbour, waving from her porch with a kind of enthusiasm only the truly innocent or the truly guilty can muster. You stage countermeasures. You try to keep an eye on the display table, but it's hard when you're demonstrating the latest snap-tight seal or refereeing a heated debate about the merits of modular storage. You try seating her between Ethel and Barbara, neither of whom would let a spatula go unmonitored. But somehow she still manages to borrow a sandwich keeper or two, slipping them under her chair with the practiced ease of a magician hiding a dove. Word gets around. Other hostesses start to swap stories. "Have you seen my cake taker?" one whispers at the PTA meeting. "I know I left it at the party, and now I can't find it anywhere." There are rumours of a hidden stash, a secret cupboard where every missing Tupperware piece from the neighbourhood is lined up like pastel trophies. Someone claims to have spotted a distinctive yellow Jell-O mould at her Labour Day barbecue, but when pressed, she insists it's a family heirloom. Confrontation is useless. She's a master of plausible deniability. "Oh, was that yours? I thought it was part of the snack tray. Are you sure you didn't just lend it to me? Well, if you ever want it back, you know where to find me. Just come for coffee." And so the hunt continues, a low-stakes, high-drama game that everyone knows, no one admits, and everyone secretly enjoys. After all, what's a Tupperware party without a little intrigue? But here's the secret. Beneath the frustration, there's a kind of admiration. It takes nerve to walk out with a chip and dip right under the hostess's nose. It takes creativity to find new hiding places for another pastel bowl. And it takes a true sense of community to keep getting invited back, long after everyone knows what's really going on. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember, somewhere out there, your Jell-O mould may be living its best life. And next month, when the invitations go out, you know exactly who will be the first to RSVP and the last to leave. Tupperware promised to save leftovers, marriages, and possibly civilization itself. But can any lid truly keep the salad fresh for more than 48 hours? The science is debatable, but the sales pitch is eternal. Welcome to the never-ending battlefield of the American kitchen, the war on leftovers. Every dinner is a skirmish, every fridge a front line. The weapons of choice, pastel bowls, airtight lids, hope, and occasionally strategic denial. For decades, home cooks had struggled against the forces of decay, limp lettuce, weeping casseroles, and that mysterious container in the back that everyone swore was pudding once upon a time. Then, like a miracle, Tupperware entered the fray. The dream was simple: banish spoilage, conquer chaos, and wake up to a fridge that looked like a magazine ad, every bite as perfect as the night it was made. You were promised order, a utopia of sealed freshness where potato salad would never again become a biology experiment. And for a little while, the dream seemed real. You snapped the lid, pressed out the air, and listened for that tiny, hopeful burp. "It's as fresh as the day you made it," the catalogue insisted. You wanted to believe. At first, Tupperware felt unstoppable. Tuesday's meatloaf could face Thursday's lunchbox with confidence. That last scoop of macaroni, sealed away so tightly it seemed to defy the very passage of time. You could store, stack, and even colour code, blue for fruit, yellow for starches, pink for that weird Jell-O salad nobody ever finished. It was a system, a routine, almost a religion. Leftovers had finally met their match, but the reality of war is always messier than the recruiting posters. The first cracks appear when you open the fridge on Friday morning. There's the salad, still cheerful, but looking a bit defeated, somehow soggy and crunchy at the same time. The casserole has developed a mysterious layer, neither sauce nor solid, but certainly suspicious. And the Jell-O? It has achieved a state best described as sentient. You stare, lid in hand, feeling a mix of admiration and betrayal. Maybe it's not the Tupperware. Maybe it's the laws of physics. Maybe leftovers just have their own ambitions. You deploy new strategies, double lidding, paper towels to absorb moisture, rigorous container rotation. You experiment with labelling, hopeful that the written word might defeat the march of time. Still, the results are mixed. Sometimes you discover a container at the back of the fridge and open it, half expecting to find a portal to another dimension. You've become an archaeologist in your own kitchen, deciphering the history of meals past. The family, meanwhile, is divided. Some believe in the myth of everlasting freshness. It's fine. It was sealed, your husband says, fork poised bravely over a dubious casserole. Others are skeptics, children who peer suspiciously at anything not cooked within the last 24 hours, certain that even Tupperware cannot defeat the spectre of old food. Arguments break out over dates, smells, and the true meaning of best by. You mediate with the authority of a seasoned diplomat, knowing that, in the end, someone will eat the leftovers, or they'll be quietly buried at the bottom of the trash, a secret between you and the container. Yet, despite it all, you remain loyal. The sales pitch might outlast the salad, but the hope is eternal. Every new bowl is a fresh start, every sealed lid a promise. Maybe this time you'll win. Maybe this time the war on leftovers will finally be over. So as you turn off the kitchen light and tiptoe past the humming fridge, rest easy. Tomorrow you'll open the door to a world of possibilities. Yesterday's dinner, today's breakfast, or, just maybe, a scientific breakthrough. Because as long as there are leftovers, and as long as there's Tupperware, the myth of freshness will live on, sealed, stacked, and ready for battle. There are layers to this operation. The manager, the top sellers, the hostesses, and somewhere at the bottom, the cousin who just wanted free cake. Welcome to the softest, most pastel-coloured pyramid you'll ever climb. Let's peel back the cellophane and look inside. On the surface, it's all parties and punch, laughter and catalogues. But behind the curtain of Tupperware, another slightly more ambitious structure rises, the sales pyramid. Unlike the sand-blasted marvels of Egypt, this one is built on ham salad sandwiches, sign-up sheets, and the collective ambition of every woman within a 50-mile radius. It starts with the manager. She's the queen bee, the grand conductor of the Tupperware symphony, perched at the summit of the stack. She's seen it all, the double-book parties, the last-minute cancellations, the legendary Jell-O disaster of 54. With a steely gaze and a Rolodex thicker than the church directory, she oversees an empire of suburban kitchens, her domain mapped in zip codes and party dates. She arrives at rallies in a car earned from last year's sales, a car the colour of dreamsicles and self-made fortune. When she speaks, her voice is equal parts encouragement and gentle threat. Remember, ladies, it's not just about the product, it's about opportunity. Beneath her, the top sellers. These are the gladiators of the punch bowl circuit, the true believers. You recognise them by their immaculate displays, their catalogues organised with military precision, and their ability to recruit hostesses at baby showers, PTA meetings, and, if desperate, in the checkout line at the A&P. They can drop a Wonderlier bowl and not blink as it bounces. Their parties are legendary, overbooked, over-caffeinated and overstocked with every pastel plastic miracle known to man. The hostesses fill the middle layer, each one hoping for a freebie, a bit of credit, or at the very least a reason to justify that third slice of cake. Hosting is an art form, balancing the guest list, bribing Ethel to bake her famous bars, and managing the delicate politics of who sits next to whom. A good hostess can keep the coffee flowing and the conversation light, even as Barbara demands to see the hostess exclusive for the third time in one night. And then, at the base of the pyramid, the foot soldiers, the friends, the cousins, the neighbours, and the women who swore they'd never get involved, but somehow left a party with an order form in hand. Some come for the snacks, others for the gossip, but all are swept up sooner or later into the grand machinery of sales. The cousin who just wanted a piece of Ethel's bundt cake finds herself scheduling her own party, half by accident, half by peer pressure, and wholly resigned to a life of comparing lid sizes. There's no actual scam here, just the gentle pressure of collective ambition, the careful nudges from above, the silent judgment of empty punch glasses. The more you sell, the more you're celebrated. The more you recruit, the higher you climb. The prizes get shinier, the parties get larger, and the cake gets more elaborate. In some ways, it's the world's softest cult, one where the only requirement is a belief in airtight storage and a willingness to call your friends on a Tuesday night. Of course, every pyramid has its mysteries. Who really gets the grand prize? What happens to the leftovers from last year's discontinued set? Will the cousin ever escape? Or is she doomed to a life of swapping salad recipes and counting party points? In the end, you realise the pyramid isn't just built on sales, but on connection, an endless layering of invitations, friendships, rivalries, and the collective hope that maybe, just maybe, this month you'll reach the top. So as you finish your slice of cake and gather your new Tupperware haul, take a moment to admire the structure you're now part of. Soft, colourful, and gently absurd. And tomorrow, there will always be another party, another layer, and another sandwich waiting. Sleep well. You've climbed higher than you think. In the 1950s, plastic is the new black. Selling Tupperware means dressing for success. Aprons, pearls, and that certain je ne sais pop. Who says you can't close a sale in kitten heels? Let's set the scene. It's party day, and your living room is a pastel runway. The clock is ticking, the deviled eggs are chilling, and you're halfway through tying the world's most symmetrical apron bow. Because in this world, it's not enough to sell the dream of freshness. You have to look fresh, too. Your outfit isn't just a reflection of personal taste. It's armour for battle, costume for performance, and sometimes the only way you get to show off that new brooch you won for hitting the monthly sales quota. Start with the basics. The apron is essential, a symbol of both domesticity and ambition. Some women choose crisp cotton, others go bold with frills and floral prints. It must have pockets, deep enough for order forms, catalogues, a spare lipstick, and if necessary a lemon bar for emergency energy. The apron ties everything together, literally and metaphorically. It's your brand, it's your shield, and when you step into it, you're not just a hostess, you're a contender. Now, the pearls. Pearls are non-negotiable. They speak of poise, of polish, of a woman who could serve tea with one hand and tally a commission with the other. Real or imitation, single strand or triple layered, pearls are the badge of suburban professionalism. Some say pearls can be distracting, but you know, a flash of white at your neck draws the eye, right to the gleaming display of modular storage on the table. Then, the shoes. Heels are the weapon of choice, but not the stilettos of movie starlets. Kitten heels, practical and polite, with just enough lift to let you see over your punch bowl and pivot between the kitchen and living room with grace. The brave attempt wedges, and the truly fearless go for slingbacks. You practice the art of gliding, never stomping, because nothing kills a sale like stepping on Ethel's foot while demonstrating the burp. Accessories? Absolutely. The right brooch can tip the balance between a hesitant order and a full set. Gloves sometimes for special occasions, a touch of perfume, nothing too overwhelming, a whiff of lilac, a memory of spring. Your nails are done, your hair set, your lipstick immaculate. The message is clear. You can conquer chaos, keep a casserole fresh, and look fabulous doing it. Fashion is strategy. The more polished you look, the more people believe in the product and in you. Women arrive at your party taking mental notes, sizing up your apron game, your colour coordination, and, if they're honest, wondering where you got those earrings. Soon enough, it's not just Tupperware being compared, it's everything. Who has the newest pumps? Whose hair defies humidity? Who managed to avoid flour on her blouse and ketchup on her cuffs? But here's the twist. All this fashion isn't just about competition, it's camaraderie. Compliments fly as freely as party mints. Someone borrows a bobby pin, someone else shares the secret of her no-chip manicure. And for a few hours, everyone gets to pretend the world is as neatly arranged as your display table. Even the skeptics, husbands, children, the mailman take note. Another party, they tease, eyeing your coordinated ensemble. You just smile because they don't know the truth. You're dressing for a stage where you are the star. And when the last guest leaves, and you kick off your heels and untie your apron, you feel it. Victory and a little relief. So tonight, rest well. Tomorrow you'll slip on the pearls, tie your armour, and face another day as the undisputed queen of kitchen couture. Because in your world, fashion isn't frivolous. It's power, one kitten heel at a time. It's not just about the product, It's about the show. You learn to drop, toss, and occasionally stomp on a Tupperware bowl, all in the name of sales. For every gasp, there's an order form quietly being filled out. From the moment your guests walk through the door, the kitchen transforms into a stage. The folding chairs line up in semicircles, punch bowls glisten under the overhead light, and the Tupperware display is arranged like the crown jewels, each piece gleaming, waiting for its turn in the spotlight. You smooth your apron, clear your throat, and with the quiet confidence of someone who's seen both triumph and disaster, you begin. First comes the drop test, a ritual as time-honoured as the tea ceremony. Watch closely, ladies, you say, holding a Wonderlier bowl at chest height. The audience leans forward, every eyebrow raised. You let go. The bowl hits the floor with a dull, unspectacular thud, then bounces. No cracks, no chips, not even a scuff on the pastel finish. Somewhere a husband's distant cry of, "But is it dishwasher safe?" echoes faintly in the background. You answer with a smile. Of course it is. Then the toss. You select a sturdy lid, demonstrate the proper burping technique, and with a practice flick send it spinning across the kitchen like a frisbee of promise. Guests duck and laugh, a little nervous but secretly impressed. You catch it mid-air or pretend it was all part of the act when it bounces off the bread box. The message is clear. This plastic is tougher than your week and more reliable than your brother-in-law's handyman skills. But the true pièce de résistance is the stomp. It's not for the faint of heart or the tight of skirt, but desperate times and ambitious sales quotas call for dramatic measures. With the bowl on the floor, you step up, placing your sensible heel squarely in the centre. There's a hush, a beat. Will it survive? Of course it does. The bowl flexes, absorbs the pressure, and springs back, good as new. A sigh of relief ripples through the crowd. Someone claps. Someone else checks her purse for the catalogue. You're not just showing off plastic. You're selling the fantasy of indestructibility. The promise that at least one thing in your life can survive a fall, a stomp, or a night buried under 3 pounds of potato salad. You intersperse the performance with stories. I've dropped this on the driveway, still works. My toddler used it as a drum. No dents. Barbara accidentally ran one over with her station wagon. Don't try this at home, but guess what? Still burpable. Every demonstration is a careful dance between science and theatre. The bowl never cracks, the lid never warps, and if it does, there's a lifetime guarantee spoken in the same tone as the priest announcing eternal salvation. The audience is hooked. They're imagining their own disasters, the fridge avalanche, the child science project gone rogue, the leftovers launched from the top shelf. Suddenly, a set of containers feels like insurance, like a shield against the chaos of domestic life. For every gasp, whether it's awe or alarm, there's an order form quietly filling out. Women nod, make notes, ask to see that burp again. Even the skeptics are swayed by the performance. After all, what's the harm in buying something that can survive both Sunday dinner and the occasional kitchen stampede? The show ends, applause fading into laughter and the rustle of catalogues. You collect your props, wipe down the counter, and bask in the quiet satisfaction of a job well performed. Because in the world of Tupperware, every demonstration is a small act of hope. That order, durability, and a touch of showmanship can make even leftovers feel like a triumph. So tonight, rest easy. The curtain falls, the kitchen lights dim, and your Tupperware stands ready for its next encore. The party's over, your house is in shambles, and your children are sticky with 7 kinds of dip. But you're richer in commission, respect, and possibly a few new grudges. The quiet after a Tupperware party is a special kind of silence. It's the hush that settles after the last punch glass is drained, and the final thanks for inviting me echoes out the door. You survey your living room, the scene of recent plastic triumphs. Abandoned napkins like tiny white flags, crushed sandwich quarters, and a table littered with order forms. The folding chairs are askew, the catalogue is dog-eared, and your youngest is discovered under the coffee table, suspiciously green and clutching a celery keeper. There's a rhythm to the clean-up. You stack the demo bowls and hunt for runaway lids, the ones that always seem to vanish during the heat of a burping demonstration, only to be found days later tucked in the dollhouse or mysteriously stashed with the gardening gloves. You collect crumbs with one hand and commissions with the other, gently tallying totals with a pencil stub that has survived more parties than most marriages. The smell of punch lingers in the air, a fizzy reminder of the night's commerce and camaraderie. Your mind replays the highlights, the stunned gasp when you stomped on the Wonderlier and it survived, the applause for Ethel's lemon bars, the whispered negotiations over the hostess exclusive set. Every order is a tiny victory. Each signature on an order form a testament to your charm, your hustle, or, at the very least, your ability to wield a catalogue like a seasoned card shark. There are compliments to savour, both sincere and strategic. "You make it look so easy," someone says, and for a moment you believe it. "Your living room always looks so cosy. They didn't see you shoving toys under the sofa at the last second. These little containers are genius. I'll never lose a carrot again." You know better, but you nod graciously. Each word is another layer of satisfaction, sometimes sweet, sometimes laced with the subtle aftertaste of competitive jealousy. But let's not ignore the grudge pile. You keep mental notes: who RSVP'd but didn't show, who took home the last Jell-O square without ordering so much as a measuring spoon, who borrowed your cake taker and swears it'll be returned at the next PTA meeting. There's a special place in your heart for the guest who loudly announced her own party for next weekend, right as you handed out order forms. The war of hospitality never really ends. It just hibernates until the next invitation is dropped in a mailbox. Then comes the accounting, the secret triumph of commission math. The little stack of bills, the satisfying snap of coins, the knowledge that you've managed to fund a new pair of shoes or next month's electric bill while orchestrating a night of social theatre. You tally, you subtract, you allocate party points and distribute bonus gifts, all while balancing a child on one hip and the phone on your shoulder as Barbara calls again to ask about her back-ordered celery keeper. Finally, there's the ritual of self-reflection. You collapse onto the sofa, shoes off, feet sore but spirits high. You've survived another round of plastic pageantry. The kitchen may be sticky, but your sense of accomplishment is clean and bright. The compliments, the orders, the laughter, all echo softly as you tuck yourself into bed, knowing you'll do it all again soon. Rest easy. The party's over, the cash is counted, and for tonight at least, you are the reigning queen of leftovers and laughter. The mess will wait until morning, just like the next great idea for your next party. It starts innocently, a missing lid, a vanishing cake taker. But in this neighbourhood, every missing container is a case waiting to be cracked. Trust no one, especially Barbara. It's a truth universally acknowledged that the more Tupperware you acquire, the more likely you are to lose it. At first, it's just a lid or two, nothing serious, just the inevitable casualties of a busy life. But then, the stakes get higher. You reach for your favourite deviled egg carrier only to find it gone, vanished without a trace. The fridge looks back at you, oddly incomplete, and your faith in the order of the universe is shaken. Somewhere in the background, a faint and suspicious giggle echoes. You freeze. Could it be? No, not again. Every neighbourhood has its mysteries. Sometimes it's the mysterious car that parks on the corner at 3 a.m, or the question of who keeps letting their dog dig up the petunias. But in this suburb, the greatest mystery of all is Tupperware related. Here, legends are built on the great coleslaw spill of 57, and reputations rise and fall on the whereabouts of a punch bowl lid. Women swap stories in hushed tones at the PTA. "You know, I haven't seen my celery keeper since Barbara's party, Ethel whispers, her voice trembling between indignation and awe. The suspects multiply quickly. Was it borrowed and never returned? Was it swept up in the clean-up and spirited away by a distracted child? Or has Barbara, the neighbourhood's undisputed champion of accidental acquisition, struck again? You remember, with chilling clarity, the day she left your party balancing 3 containers and a smile so innocent it would make a nun suspicious. A low-level arms race ensues. You begin marking your containers with nail polish, initials, or tiny stickers that scream, "This is mine and I'm watching you." Some hostesses up the ante, inventing elaborate sign-out sheets or making pointed announcements about tracking inventory. The most cautious refuse to loan out their hostess-exclusive pieces under any circumstances. "Sorry, dear, it's a collector's item," you say, clutching your lettuce crisper like a family heirloom. Every party becomes a potential crime scene. You scan your guests as they leave, peering into purses, diaper bags, and the oversized handbag that Barbara insists is for emergencies. You try to play it cool, smiling through gritted teeth as you say, "Let me know if you find that jello mold at home." You make mental notes. Who was sitting nearest the display table? Who seemed just a little too interested in the punch bowl? Sometimes the Tupperware is returned sheepishly days later. "Oh, I just found this in my trunk." "Silly me," Barbara proclaims, while you bite back a comment about the uncanny regularity of her forgetfulness. Other times your container is never seen again, living out its days in another kitchen, perhaps filled with someone else's potato salad, forever lost to you. But beneath the suspicion, there's a certain charm to the scandal. It gives the parties an extra sparkle, a dash of mystery. The hunt for the missing cake taker becomes the stuff of legend, retold, exaggerated, and woven into the fabric of suburban life. Sometimes you almost hope something goes missing, just for the thrill of the chase. And in the end, perhaps that's the secret genius of Tupperware. It brings people together, even when it tears them apart. The missing lid is a reminder that nothing, no matter how airtight, can truly be sealed forever. Not in a neighbourhood like this. So tonight, as you double-check your inventory and eye your guests with gentle suspicion, rest easy. The real treasure is the stories, the laughter, and the gentle mayhem left behind. Just keep an eye on Barbara and your jello mould. What does it mean to have your own money? For many women, Tupperware is more than a hobby. It's a ticket to independence, confidence, and the ability to buy as many shoes as they want, no permission needed. The clink of coins in a purse, the satisfying weight of a folded bill, the subtle thrill of jotting numbers in a ledger. These aren't just the sounds and sensations of bookkeeping. They're the first quiet notes of revolution. Before Tupperware, mad money meant a few spare dollars, squirreled away for a rainy day or a clandestine milkshake at Woolworths. Allowances were for children. Grocery money was accounted for down to the last cent, and if you needed a new dress, you politely requested it, maybe, if the timing was right. But then came the parties, the catalogues, and the slow realization that all these social gatherings, all these demonstrations and burps and order forms were more than just a way to fill a Tuesday evening. With every set sold and every hostess recruited, the tally grew. Commission checks, sometimes small, sometimes enough to make a real difference, arrived in envelopes addressed to you. Not Mrs. John Smith, just you. The money isn't just numbers on a page, it's freedom. It's new shoes, a trip to the beauty salon, maybe even a rainy day account for dreams you've never dared to say out loud. You learn how to budget, how to plan, how to save for big things. Maybe it's a new washing machine, a trip to see family, or something as simple as an evening out. No explanations, no justifications, no sheepish requests for cab fare. Financial independence grows in quiet, practical ways. You begin to understand margins, tally up hostess credits, and compare bonuses. You save catalogue receipts, learn how to haggle over the price of a full party set, and discover the fine art of reinvesting in inventory. All those years of stretching a roast or making the grocery budget last just a little longer. Now those skills serve you here, at the kitchen table, where you turn leftovers into profit and party points into presents under the Christmas tree. But it's not just about money, it's about confidence. The first time you correct a customer's math, the first time you negotiate a tricky hostess swap, the first time you stand at the front of a crowded living room and explain the difference between a lettuce crisper and a celery keeper, you realise you can handle anything. That shy voice is gone, replaced by poise and purpose. Your family notices, your friends notice, and you notice most of all. The world gets just a little bigger, the walls of the house just a little less confining. With every commission, you're buying more than groceries. You're buying respect. You're buying the right to say yes and the right to say no. Maybe, for the first time, you splurge a hat, a book, a dinner with friends, something just for you. Maybe you help out with the bills or stash a little away for the college fund. Or maybe you just enjoy the feeling of having a secret, money that's yours, entirely yours. And in those moments when someone calls Tupperware a little hobby, or wonders aloud if all those parties are really worth the trouble, you smile. Because you know the truth. Every bowl, every burp, every dollar is a step toward a world where your signature, your decisions, your dreams matter. So as you drift off tonight, let the thought of that quiet stash of cash, hard-earned and all your own, comfort you. The world outside might not see it, but in your kitchen, on your terms, you're the CEO. And that, perhaps, is the sweetest profit of all. For the best of the best, there's Orlando, an annual bacchanal of plastic, praise and competitive spirit. The prizes are shiny, the applause is thunderous, and the stories utterly unrepeatable. Imagine it, hundreds of women all dressed in their brightest pastels descending upon Florida like a flock of determined flamingos. The airport baggage claim is a pastel parade of Tupperware tote bags, hostess exclusive pins glinting in the sun, and the unmistakable energy of people who have survived one too many battles over lost lids. There's a buzz in the air, part anticipation, part competitive tension, and a healthy dash of humidity. The hotel lobby transforms into a sea of catalogue-wielding dynamos, each one ready to compare party points, share trade secrets, and maybe, just maybe, size up the competition. The conference hall sparkles, bright banners promise glory. Welcome top sellers, this year's champions, dream it, seal it, achieve it. On stage, the trophies glitter like diamonds, but more valuable than gold is the admiration in the crowd. There are cheers, there are tears, there are chants so enthusiastic they'd put any high school pep rally to shame. Everywhere you look, there's a sense that this is not just a convention, it's a coronation. For a few days, ordinary life vanishes. There are motivational speeches, masterclasses in the burp technique, and enough networking to power a small city. You meet women from Kansas and California, Maine and Montana, all united by their love of airtight storage and the thrill of a well-timed upsell. You trade stories, whose husband is most annoyed by the stacks of inventory, who's developed the best comeback for how much plastic does one family need, and who can recite the entire 1956 catalogue from memory. New friendships spark over buffet lines and breakout sessions. Old rivalries are put on hold, at least until the award ceremony. The competitive spirit is fierce, but the pageantry is even fiercer. Women dress to impress, matching blazers, statement brooches, shoes that could double as party favours. Rumours swirl of legendary parties held in hotel rooms, late-night strategy sessions and impromptu burp-offs in the hallway. There are workshops for everything: how to host the perfect party, how to recruit a new team, how to turn a skeptical neighbour into your best customer. It's equal parts sales boot camp and summer camp, complete with camp songs and slightly more aggressive networking. The highlight, of course, is the awards gala. The lights dim, the music swells, and the top sellers are called to the stage one by one to thunderous applause. There are crowns, there are sashes, and for a lucky few, the gleaming promise of a new pastel-coloured car. Cameras flash, speeches are made, and somewhere a manager sheds a proud tear. You accept your prize, be it a trophy, a charm bracelet, or just the knowledge that you outsold Barbara for the first time ever, and you remember every late-night party, every frantic order, every burped bowl that brought you here. And then, as quickly as it began, it's over. The banners come down, the leftover confetti is swept away, and the top sellers disperse back to their hometowns, suitcases bulging with swag and stories. You return home changed, maybe just a little bolder, a little more certain, a little more convinced that anything is possible with a good pitch, a supportive team, and the right set of stackable bowls. So tonight, as you dream of trophies and parties and thunderous applause, remember, in Orlando for a few magical days you were royalty, and in your kitchen, back home, you still are. No matter how many bowls you have, your neighbour always seems to have one more. The Cold War might be happening, but in your subdivision the real arms race is in the pantry. It starts as a harmless comparison. You swing by Ethel's for coffee and notice her new lettuce crisper, perched on the counter like a gleaming pastel trophy. "Isn't it marvellous?" she says, a little too casually, as if she hasn't been plotting this reveal for weeks. You smile politely and nod, all the while plotting your own strategic upgrades. Surely you can live without a pickle keeper, until you see Barbara show up at the PTA meeting with her entire lunch stored in matching modular mates. You feel a shiver, not of envy, but of determination. The Tupperware catalogue becomes your battle plan. You pore over each page, circling must-haves, adding wishful thinking to your hostess wish list. It's not about leftovers anymore, it's about supremacy. The refrigerator becomes a display case. The shelves are reorganised, not for efficiency, but for show. You start inviting guests over just so they'll notice the way your stacking bowls nest perfectly, the rainbow of airtight storage glowing with competitive pride. But the Joneses aren't easily outdone. The day after you unveil your new party set, you catch a glimpse of their kitchen through a slightly too open window and see a row of canisters in colours you didn't even know existed. Rumour has it they hosted a party last week, and the top seller brought inventory straight from company headquarters. There's talk of a cousin in Orlando. The tension is palpable. Every time you hear the snap of a lid next door, it's a coded message. We're still ahead. Even the children get involved. Your daughter brings her sandwich to school in a Tupperware sandwich keeper, but she comes home asking why Jenny's mom has the one with the flip-top lid. Sibling rivalry meets suburban politics in the lunchroom. You assure her, calmly, maternally, that quality beats novelty. Then, after bedtime, you circle the catalogue with renewed vigour. The husbands, for their part, are baffled. They watch as containers multiply, lids march across the kitchen table, and debates about celery keepers escalate into negotiations worthy of the United Nations. "Do we really need another bowl?" your husband asks, not realising the stakes. You answer with the cool logic of a statesman. It's not a bowl, it's a system. He retreats to the garage, defeated but impressed. What was once a simple quest for freshness is now a full-blown kitchen crusade. You experiment with arrangement. Should the tallest containers go in the back, or are they better front and centre? You swap secrets with allies. Did you hear they're discontinuing the lemon yellow? Better act fast. You attend parties not for the punch, but for reconnaissance, scanning for the latest additions, noting supply chain rumours, and quietly swapping intelligence on where to find that elusive salad spinner. But in all arms races, there's a secret longing for peace, After the parties are over and the catalogues are put away, you find yourself at the window watching the Joneses' kitchen light flicker. Maybe, you think, it's not about winning or losing. Maybe it's about having a little fun, a little hope, and a reason to laugh when you realise you have 3 sets of measuring cups and still can't find a lid that fits. So tonight, rest easy. The battle of the pantry may never be won, but the spoils, friendship, pride, and a few too many cake takers are yours to keep. And tomorrow, when Ethel shows off her brand new spice carousel, you'll be ready, with a smile, a wink, and perhaps a slightly larger Jell-O mould. Tupperware parties fade, but the memories linger. The containers survive in the back of every American cabinet, quietly holding the ghosts of 1,000,000 ambitious women and their dreams of something more. Years pass, and the world moves on. The block parties grow quieter, the catalogue pages turn yellow, and the kitchen table sales pitch gives way to digital shopping carts and overnight delivery. Yet, if you open any kitchen cabinet in America, ranch house, city apartment, or country farmhouse, you'll find them. Pastel bowls, ancient lids, cake takers with faded patterns, tucked between new gadgets and half-finished bags of flour. They sit quietly, holding leftovers, paper clips, change, sometimes just the smell of the 1970s. They're relics, but they're also witnesses, each one a silent reminder of the parties, the laughter, and the private revolutions that once swirled around them. Every time you open a cabinet and see that old celery keeper, you remember the women who filled the room with stories and cake, hope and rivalry, gossip and encouragement. Maybe your mother was one of them. Maybe it was your grandmother, your aunt, or the neighbour down the street who hosted so many parties you could set your calendar by her invitations. There's something soothing about the sight. The gentle curve of a Wonderlier bowl, the familiar pastel glow, the stubborn lid that still burps after all these years. The parties themselves have become legend, told and retold like fairy tales for grown-ups. Your family laughs about the time someone spiked the punch, or when the cat ran off with a sandwich keeper, or when the new hostess accidentally sent an order form to the mayor. There's a quiet pride in those stories too, a pride in resourcefulness, in friendship, in the courage it took to step out of the living room and into the world of sales, however small the scale. And somewhere in all those memories is a subtle sense of possibility. Tupperware was never just about plastic bowls. It was about agency. It was about finding ways to be seen, to be heard, to make a little money and a little noise in a world that often asked women to be quiet. Every container in the cupboard is a survivor of that era, a symbol of tiny revolutions, ambitions pressed and sealed tight, ready to be remembered whenever you reach for the leftovers. Modern life is different, of course. Your phone buzzes with messages and notifications. Your groceries arrive in boxes on the porch, and kitchen gadgets now promise to do everything but tuck you in at night. Still, the old Tupperware stays, useful, durable, quietly comforting. You could buy a set of new containers with the click of a button, but somehow the old ones mean more. They're battle-tested. They've seen spills and triumphs, PTA meetings and midnight snacks. They've held hope and lasagna and the dreams of 1,000,000 women who believed in something just a little bigger than leftovers. So tonight, as you put away the dinner and close the cupboard door, let the gentle click of plastic lids remind you. The party may be over, but the stories remain. The laughter, the ambition, the feeling of possibility, they're all there, sealed tight, stacked neatly behind the cereal. Tomorrow you'll open that cabinet again. You might not find what you're looking for, but you'll find a piece of history, a whisper of the past, and a quiet reminder that the end of the party isn't the end of the story. Rest well. The legacy of the kitchen table revolution is safe in your cupboard, still burping, still bright, still waiting to be remembered. Long after the last party and the final burp, the The revolution lives on. Your mother's kitchen is still full of ancient, slightly warped containers, and everyone is a relic of a time when women remade the world, one sandwich at a time. You know the scene by heart. The faded yellow bowl, the cracked celery keeper, the stack of mismatched lids that defy logic but persist in the junk drawer. Maybe you've tried more than once to stage an intervention, suggesting gently that it might be time to retire the old Wonderlier and invest in something new. But your mother only smiles, shakes her head, and points out with perfect Tupperware logic that nothing in this house gets thrown away until it stops holding something, and the truth is, it never does. Each container is a survivor, not just of decades in the cupboard, but of the era that gave it life. They are artifacts of a domestic revolution, when women took a chance on plastic and ended up taking a chance on themselves. In a time when the world tried to fit women into smaller and smaller boxes, Tupperware gave them bigger ones that sealed tight, stacked high, and promised a little bit of order in a messy, unpredictable world. Your mother remembers every party, every punch bowl, every order form filled out at the kitchen table. She remembers her first commission, spent on a new pair of shoes, or a trip to see her sister, or a secret box of chocolates tucked away for emergencies. She remembers the thrill of a room full of neighbours leaning in to watch her burp the bowl, the pride in adding up her first tally sheet, the hush of possibility when the catalogue came in the mail. Those containers are more than tools. They're trophies, proof of evenings spent as the star of her own show, if only for an hour or two. The world changed, but the containers stayed. They outlasted trends, presidents, marriages, and microwaves. They witnessed midnight snacks, teenage heartbreaks, backyard barbecues, and Thanksgiving dinners that seemed to multiply by the year. Even now, they wait patiently in the back of the pantry, ready for action at a moment's notice. Whenever you visit, you're sent home with a heap of leftovers, always packed in the oldest, most indestructible bowl she owns. Bring it back next time, she says, as if you'd ever dare lose it. And if you ask her why she still hangs on to every last lid, she'll tell you, sometimes with a wink, sometimes with a sigh, that they don't make them like they used to. Maybe she's talking about the plastic, but maybe, just maybe, she's talking about the women who built a world out of leftovers, laughter, and stubborn hope. Tupperware changed the world, not with a single grand gesture, but with a million tiny acts. A neighbour invited, a party hosted, a sale made, a dream quietly nursed in the soft glow of the kitchen light. These bowls aren't just containers, they're vessels of memory, ambition, and proof that revolutions don't always need banners or ballots. Sometimes, all it takes is a bowl, a burp, and the courage to claim a little space of your own. So tonight, as you pass your own cupboard, may be tempted to toss out that slightly warped avocado green relic. Pause. Think of your mother. Think of the parties, the possibilities, and the legacy she stacked, sealed, and left behind. The revolution lives on, quietly, patiently, in every container she refuses to let go. Rest easy. Your leftovers and your history are safe, burped, sealed, and stored for another day. After every party, you sit cross-legged on the linoleum, surrounded by towers of pastel lids and bowls, whispering product codes like secret spells. Your calculator is sticky with frosting, your guest list is full of fake names, and somewhere, deep in the couch, lurks a rogue pickle keeper. This isn't just counting, it's Tupperware's version of a spiritual audit, and losing track means risking both your commission and your sanity. It's midnight. The punch bowl is empty, the deviled eggs are history, and the last guest's perfume lingers in the air, mixing with a faint note of lemon pledge. The laughter is gone, but the aftermath remains. A kitchen transformed into a landscape of plastic hills and valleys. You sink to the floor, armed with a battered pencil and a sheet of carbon paper forms. Around you, Tupperware containers glint in the fluorescent light, each one a silent witness to the night's successes and casualties. Inventory counting is an act of faith. You begin with hope, stacking Wonderlier bowls in neat pyramids, matching lids to containers as if restoring order to a tiny pastel universe. But quickly, hope turns to suspicion. Where is the number 6 lid? Didn't you have 3 cake takers at the start of the evening? Is it possible someone took your lettuce crisper, or has it simply migrated like a plastic turtle to the land behind the radiator? The numbers blur. You count, recount, and count again, convinced you must have made a mistake. How could there be more celery keepers than lids? Why do you have a single, lonely sandwich keeper with no bottom? The calculator doesn't help, its buttons gummed up with icing, its display taunting you with impossible equations. For a moment you consider sacrificing the whole commission for the peace of mind that comes with blissful ignorance. But the rules are clear. Every container must be accounted for, every sale recorded, every party favour checked twice. And then there's the paperwork. The guest list is a work of creative fiction. Barbara brought her sister, who brought a neighbour, who signed up as M. Mouse. The order forms are a patchwork of smudges and best guesses, and somewhere in the chaos a child's doodle proclaims "I love Tupper." You decipher handwriting like a cryptologist, trying to remember who ordered the avocado green jello mould, and who will never speak to you again if they don't get their Minimax by Thursday. It's in these quiet, sticky moments, when you're balancing a tower of bowls on one knee and a calculator on the other, that you realise Tupperware isn't just about selling plastic. It's about control in a world that resists it. It's about finding peace in the methodical, repetitive matching of lids and bowls, about claiming a little order after the delightful chaos of the party. Maybe you can't predict who will show up or which neighbour will forget to pay for her celery keeper, but for a brief, shining moment, you can count, stack, and balance your way back to sanity. Of course, sometimes the rogue pickle keeper is never found. Sometimes you end the night with more questions than answers, and a faint suspicion that your inventory has achieved sentience and is plotting against you, but you press on, sealing up what you can, jotting down the final numbers, and promising yourself that next time you'll use a bolder pen or maybe a lockbox. And when the counting is finally done, you exhale, rise stiffly from the linoleum, and turn out the kitchen light. The bowls are stacked, the numbers add up almost, and you, keeper of the keys, master of the audit, high priestess of polyethylene, can finally rest. Sleep well. The inventory is sacred, and tonight you have done your duty. Children and Tupperware are a natural disaster waiting to happen. You thought airtight meant safe, until the toddler uses the Wonderlier bowl as a drum, the dog steals the lettuce crisper, and your 3-year-old hides a frog in the cake taker. Suddenly, your demo is less hostess with the mostest and more live from the scene of a plastic apocalypse. It always starts so hopefully. The living room is spotless. The Tupperware display is arranged with the precision of a science fair, and the snacks are safely out of reach. At least, you think so. For 5 glorious minutes, everything goes according to plan. Then, like a summer thunderstorm, chaos rolls in. The baby, armed with nothing but curiosity and sticky hands, discovers the pyramid of Wonderlier bowls and gleefully sets about testing their durability. The first bowl bounces, the second rolls under the sofa, and the third becomes the world's least musical maraca, full of Cheerios and existential dread. Your older children, sensing an opportunity, form alliances with the family dog. A lettuce crisper, prized for its capacity to keep greens fresh for days, becomes the object of a spirited tug-of-war. The dog wins, bolting through the house, trailing bits of romaine and dignity. You make a mental note. Next time, display the lettuce crisper on a higher shelf, or maybe invest in a leash. Meanwhile, your 3-year-old, fueled by a diet of adventure stories and orange slices, decides that the cake taker is the perfect hiding place for a new friend, a frog, damp and indignant, who looks as bewildered as you feel. The discovery comes mid-demo, just as you're explaining the benefits of modular stacking. "Why is there something croaking?" asks Ethel, ever the skeptic. You lift the lid, and the frog makes a leap for freedom, causing Barbara to spill her punch and swear off Jello for life. The party becomes a slapstick ballet. Lids scatter like frisbees, bowls skitter across the floor, and every time you turn your back, another container finds its way into the toy box, the laundry hamper, or, most troublingly, the toilet. Your guests, initially horrified, soon give in to laughter. Someone recalls the time their own child used a celery keeper as a hat. Someone else confesses to losing a whole party set to an overenthusiastic kitten. Misery, it turns out, really does love company. Cleanup is its own adventure. You find a measuring cup in a shoe, a sandwich keeper under the piano, and after a heroic search, the frog, safely relocated to the backyard. The Tupperware, battered but intact, endures it all, a testament to the vision of Earl Tupper and the indestructible spirit of motherhood. You wipe each bowl, snap each lid, and marvel at the resilience of both your containers and your sanity. After the chaos, there's a kind of peace. The kids, worn out by their campaign of culinary destruction, doze off in a heap of blankets and plastic lids. The dog, proud of his leafy conquest, curls up on the sofa, head resting on a celery keeper. The house is quiet again, save for the gentle hum of the fridge and the faint echo of laughter. You sit back, survey the wreckage, and realise airtight doesn't mean chaos-proof, but it does mean you can survive just about anything. So tonight, as you gather your bowls and count your blessings, remember, the containers can take it. So can you. The kitchen is safe for now, and tomorrow will bring new adventures, some stickier than others, all part of the wild, wonderful party that is life with kids and Tupperware. Rest easy. You're the hostess with the mostest, the queen of containment, and the survivor of yet another plastic apocalypse. Welcome to the wild world of 1950s recipe cards, where nothing says modern like a can of condensed soup and a pound of neon marshmallows. Your Tupperware is filled with salads that wobble, casseroles that congeal, and leftovers that might outlive the family dog. If food preservation is the goal, congratulations! Nothing in your fridge is ever dying, except hope. Let's start with the recipes themselves. A fever dream written in cursive on index cards, stained by decades of experience and a little bit of fear. Tuna surprise, jello ring, spam souffle, each one an experiment in culinary optimism, a testament to the era's belief that science could conquer anything, including flavour. If it could be creamed, congealed, or covered in pineapple rings, it probably made its way onto the dinner table at least once. And when the family, overcome by the miracle of post-war abundance, or just plain confusion, couldn't finish it all, that's where Tupperware entered, as the hero no one expected but everyone needed. The act of storing leftovers became its own strange ritual. The hot casserole comes out of the oven, only slightly resembling the picture on the recipe card. You spoon the remains into a pastel bowl, avocado green for meatloaf, harvest gold for jello, pink for whatever this used to be. The lid goes on with a satisfying snap. You burp it, sealing in both flavour and mystery. Into the fridge it goes, where it will remain for an indeterminate amount of time, visible yet unacknowledged, waiting for a hungry soul or a brave archaeologist. Inside your fridge, a quiet war wages between innovation and entropy. You marvel at the science. Polyethylene defying spoilage. Mayonnaise preserved as if in suspended animation. Some nights, the leftovers re-emerge, valiantly reheated and served with the phrase, "Waste not, want not." Other times, they retreat further into the chilly shadows, hidden behind milk bottles and the ever-present jar of pickles. Family members grow wary. "What's for dinner?" they ask, eyeing the Tupperware pyramid with suspicion. You answer, surprise, and watch them try to guess which decade tonight's entree first appeared. Of course, not everything survives. Some dishes achieve a kind of immortality, their gelatinous forms untouched by time or appetite. Others quietly ferment, transforming from culinary hope to ecological experiment. You grow wise to the signs, a slightly bulging lid, a colour not found in nature, a smell that suggests the next step is either disposal or donating to science. You become adept at stealth manoeuvres, removing ancient relics when no one's looking, whispering a prayer of thanks for plastic that contains even the most aggressive odours. And yet, the promise of Tupperware is fulfilled, at least in part. The leftovers might not always be desirable, but they are, without a doubt, preserved. Some nights, after a long day, you find solace in the simple act of stacking bowls, each one a small victory over waste. The fridge, chaotic though it may be, is a museum of meals, each container a chapter in the epic saga of Dinner Round 2. You open a bowl, take a chance, and sometimes miraculously, the food is just as good as you remember, or at least not much worse. So, as you tuck yourself in, comforted by the hum of the fridge and the knowledge that tomorrow's lunch is already waiting, somewhere deep in the back, give thanks to the unsung heroes, the recipe writers, the brave eaters, and the containers that keep hope and leftovers alive, one pastel lid at a time. Sleep well, and may your next culinary experiment be just a little more edible. A true Tupperware star can juggle bowls, unseal a lid with one hand, and give a motivational speech while prepping 6 kinds of dip. Welcome to the Neighbourhood Talent Show, where women compete in feats of airtight bravado. Who will walk away with a coveted golden spatula, and who will drop the ball, literally, in front of Mrs. Perkins from 3 doors down? It all begins with a whisper at the church social, a daring suggestion at the PTA meeting. Why don't we spice things up? A little friendly competition, maybe a talent show. Before you know it, flyers appear in mailboxes, and the chatter in the grocery store shifts from coupon deals to rumours of the Great Wandelier toss and the fastest burp in the West. In the land of pastel plastics, glory isn't found on a stage, it's earned between the coffee table and the snack tray, witnessed by friends, rivals, and the occasional bewildered husband. The evening of the talent show arrives. Your living room is transformed. Folding chairs in rows, spotlights fashioned from reading lamps. The table covered in a rainbow of containers ready for action. Judges are assembled, a mix of stern-faced hostesses, impartial husbands, pressed into service and threatened with dessert withdrawal, and of course Mrs. Perkins, the neighbourhood's arbiter of taste and tattle. The coveted golden spatula sits front and centre, shining as bright as the ambitions of every would-be Tupperware champion. The first event is the Tupperware stack, a test of balance, vision, and nerves of steel. Contestants take turns building the tallest tower of modular bowls, hands trembling slightly as the pyramid grows ever more precarious. Gasps and whispers ripple through the crowd. It's not just about plastic, this is a metaphor for suburban life. Keep stacking, stay steady, and hope your foundation doesn't give out when the dog sneezes. Next up, the single-handed lid removal, a feat requiring dexterity, practice, and possibly superhuman strength. The contestants grip, twist, and pop, lids flying off in satisfying little bursts of accomplishment. Mrs. Perkins makes a note every time a lid is dropped, but the applause drowns out her sighs. Someone attempts a double, 2 lids, 1 hand, 0 shame. The audience goes wild. Then comes the main event, the Wandelier bowl juggle. It starts slow, with 2 bowls, a steady rhythm, and a look of fierce concentration. But soon the stakes are raised, 3, then 4, and someone shouts, "Add the lettuce crisper." The bowls arc through the air in a pastel blur. and the crowd cheers as if at the circus. The inevitable happens. A bowl is dropped, rolling under Mrs. Perkins' chair, but the spirit of competition and comedy remains unbroken. There's more: the fastest salad assembly, the daring punch pour, the motivational speech while stacking cups. Each act is met with laughter, applause, and the unspoken admiration that only comes from seeing your neighbours do something truly, gloriously ridiculous. Even the children get in on the act, demonstrating innovative uses for cake takers and sandwich keepers, their routines ending in sticky hugs and applause. The final tally is taken, and the judges confer, whispering behind cupped hands. The golden spatula is awarded sometimes for skill, sometimes for style, always for spirit. The winner beams, basking in the glow of community pride and the knowledge that she, tonight, is the queen of airtight entertainment. And when the laughter fades and the bowls are restacked, you realize the real victory is the sense of togetherness, neighbors cheering, friends competing, everyone reminded that under the right light, a Tupperware bowl can be a crown, a trophy, and the centerpiece of memories worth stacking high. So rest easy, champion or not. Tonight, you showed your true talents, and in this corner of the world that's worth its weight in golden spatulas. Every now and then, a brave husband wanders into the world of Tupperware, drawn by the promise of unlimited snacks or just plain curiosity. Suddenly the mood shifts. Do the women let him stay? Does he try to demonstrate the burp and fail spectacularly? Or does he quietly back out, forever changed, clutching a catalogue and a newfound respect for the power of the plastic container matriarchy? It always starts with a crash, a back door swinging open, a heavy step on the linoleum, the hesitant face of a man peering into a sea of pearls and pastel. He pretends he's just looking for the remote, or the dog, or maybe he's just checking if there's any punch left. But you know the truth. He's here for the snacks, and possibly for the spectacle. At first, the room freezes. Conversation about the merits of celery keepers dies in mid-sentence. Ethel raises an eyebrow. Barbara snickers softly. The newcomers are welcomed, politely of course, but with a gentle, unspoken challenge. Can you survive the party? Can you keep up? The brave husband, or brother or son-in-law, tries to blend in. He hovers by the snack table, piles his plate high with lemon bars, and makes small talk about the weather or the upcoming football game. But curiosity gets the better of him. His gaze wanders to the rows of containers on display, the catalogues fanned out on the coffee table, the order forms already halfway filled. Someone, usually Ethel, dares him to try the legendary burp. The demonstration begins. He takes the Wonderlier bowl, stares at the lid as if it's a puzzle box, and attempts to follow the steps he's seen performed dozens of times. Press, slide, squeeze out the air. But instead of that satisfying pop, there's an awkward silence, then a rubbery squeak, and the lid flies off, landing at Barbara's feet. The crowd erupts in gentle applause, the kind reserved for school plays and valiant failures. Not bad for a first try, someone says, and the ice is broken. Encouraged, the party crasher sometimes gets bolder. He tries his hand at stacking bowls or guessing the uses of each container, cake takers, sandwich keepers, jello moulds. He learns, to his horror, that there's more science to airtight storage than meets the eye. Someone hands him a catalogue and challenges him to choose a set for the garage. They're good for screws and bolts, Ethel says with a wink. He nods, already thinking about how many loose nails he could finally contain. Slowly, he comes to appreciate the subtle hierarchy and skill involved. He sees how hostesses juggle conversation, snacks and salesmanship all at once. He witnesses the camaraderie, the inside jokes, the shared glances, the silent understanding that this party isn't just about plastic. It's about confidence, ambition, and a sisterhood forged in punch and party points. Most men, after their first encounter, never quite see the kitchen or its keepers the same way again. They leave with a new respect for the art of the demonstration and a quiet awe for the empire built from leftover salad and stubborn hope. Some sneak back for seconds of both cake and camaraderie. Others, slightly embarrassed but wiser, back out slowly, clutching a catalogue, promising to never again underestimate the power of a well-run party. So as you tuck away the last lid and stack the bowls for the night, remember, every now and then the mould is meant to be broken, and sometimes it takes a brave man, a burped bowl, and a plate of lemon bars to remind everyone that behind every great kitchen empire there's a matriarchy and plenty of leftovers. Rest easy. The doors are closed, the party is safe, and the legacy of the kitchen table endures, one unlikely guest at a time. So tonight, as you settle into your bed, no sales quotas to hit, no inventory to count, no neighbours waiting in the wings to poach your best customer. Take a deep breath and let the memories of this pastel plastic empire swirl gently around you. You've survived the buffet line, dodged the deviled eggs, and lived through the drama of the missing lettuce crisper. You've hosted, hustled, and maybe even triumphed in the cutthroat world of mid-century kitchen capitalism. It's easy to laugh at the spectacle now, the pyramid schemes, the sacred rituals of burping the bowl, the endless parade of catalogues promising you the perfect, orderly life. But for the women of the 1950s, these were battles fought quietly, cleverly, over coffee and cake. They transformed plastic containers into something more: independence, dignity, a tiny rebellion fought one sandwich at a time. Maybe you'll never know what it's like to win a Cadillac with a casserole. Maybe you still don't understand why your mother keeps a 40-year-old lid that doesn't fit anything anymore. But as you drift off, remember, every Tupperware party was an act of hope, a bid for something better, and a gentle challenge to a world that kept telling women to stay small, quiet, and out of the way. So tonight, as you enjoy the silence, the softness of your pillow, the miracle of leftovers you can actually forget about for a week, give a quiet thanks to those suburban pioneers, the ones who smiled, sold, and sealed their dreams beneath a perfectly burped lid. Sleep well. The party is over, but the story and the leftovers last forever.